Okay, so let's start with a line. And I'm going to make sure that I'm going ortho, so turn your orthographics on and type in 2.75. And I will go to the right a distance of 5.327. Okay, so from this point, I'll go ahead and put my fillet that has a radius of 0.5. Alongst these two lines. Next, I need to go ahead and create an arc or a circle that's located along here. So I'll choose circle, center radius. I will touch this endpoint and I will track down from it a distance of 0.5. And then the radius happens to be 0.5. Next, let's go ahead and create another line from this quadrant going straight down a distance of 2.866. I'll rotate this line from this center point, and it's going in a positive direction, so I'll send it 10 degrees. Let's go ahead and trim off the end of that circle, the edges. I'll create another circle that has a radius of 0.194. Touch this endpoint. So I want to touch this endpoint and then I want to track away from it a distance of 0.194 and make sure that you're getting a true horizontal tracking from that. And then the radius will be 0.194. In order to trim this one, I will have to create another line from this quadrant going straight down. Trim. And I'll trim off the top of that. Then next, I will go ahead and erase that line here at the bottom. So my path is created. I'll highlight this and I'll join them together. Next, I have 4 profiles to create, and they're all the same except for the height. So let's create a line that goes across a distance of 0.75. Then create another line from this midpoint going up a distance of 1.5. Let's go ahead and create a 2-point circle. I'll click on this endpoint. Then I want to go up a distance of 0.25. I'll do the same at the top. Create a 2-point circle. I'll click this endpoint and I'll come down a distance of 0.25. Next, let's draw a line from this quadrant going straight down. I'll use the fillet command, change the radius to 0.25. Select your line, select the top of your circle. Let's use the mirror command. Now I'll select these 3 objects, and I want to mirror them from this endpoint down to this endpoint. Erase that middle line and trim. Next, join those lines together. Make sure that it is converted to 1 polyline. copy this profile 3 more times. So I'll choose copy. And I just want to make a copy of it. Stretch. And remember with the stretch command, you have to use a crossing window. So I'm going to click here to the top right and drag right underneath these with another left click, then hit the enter button. Once you're done selecting your object, select a base point. Make sure your ortho is on and go straight down a distance of 0.25. I'll go back to stretch and repeat those steps again for these next two. I'll pick my base point and go down that same distance of 0.25. And then for the final one, I will stretch. Pick my base point and go down the distance of 0.25. Now I have my profile set and I do have my path. This will be my A profile, B, C, and D. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to start with the A profile. I will select it. I'll switch to the wireframe. And let's move to a rotate gizmo. Okay, now I'll select it. I'll choose the green axis. Just make sure that it's standing up. Then I will move this one. Make sure that you select the midpoint on this line and then put it at that midpoint. Next, let's do all the B ones. This is going to be my B profile, so I'll select it first. Green axis. Stand it up. Since I have more than one of these, I will use the copy command. Select this one. I'll select the midpoint. Then I will place it at this endpoint, at this endpoint, this endpoint, and finally at this endpoint. I want you to switch back to the top view. I'll choose rotate. Select this profile. My base point is going to be at this endpoint. And send it 90 degrees. Okay, for my profile that's sitting on this side, I'll go to rotate, select this line. My base point is going to be at this endpoint. This time I want to go in a negative direction, so it's going to be minus 80. I switch back. Now I can delete the B profile. The C profile, select it, stand it up with the green axis, and then rotate it again with the blue axis. So you see it look like this. Move it. From this midpoint to that endpoint. The last one we're going to deal with is going to be the D profile. Select it. Green axis to stand it up. Blue axis to rotate it like so. Let's copy this one from this midpoint to this endpoint. Let's rotate this one more time. and I was using the blue axis. I will copy this one, and I'm going to purposely save one over here just to help me when I have to put in my cylinders. So I'll copy this shape from this midpoint to this endpoint. Now I have my profile and my path created. I'll go ahead and loft this. I'll switch to a shades of gray just so you can see the loft actually happening. Let's choose loft. And with the loft command, remember you have to pick them in the order. So if I start here, I will keep coming around, creating my loft. Once I selected my last profile, go ahead and hit the enter button. And in this one, we do have a guide that's going around it. So I'll select guides. And then I'm going to select my profile that's going around it. You should see your profile should stiffen up to around that guide. And just hit the enter button. Next thing I'm going to do is draw a line from this midpoint down to this midpoint. I want to create a circle, but you'll notice that that profile is looking at it differently. If I create a circle now, the circle will be created on the XY plane. So I need to rotate that XY plane. One easy way of doing that is if you use the Y flip. If I choose Y flip and type in 90, now you can see that the XY plane is facing the direction that I want my circle to be created. Let's choose a circle, center diameter, select this midpoint, and that circle will have a diameter of 1. I'm going to extrude that circle. And I'm going to make it a height of 0.125. Next, what I want to do is I want to move this cylinder from this back midpoint to this endpoint or midpoint on this back face here. I'll switch over to wireframe. Move, select my cylinder, and I'll choose this back endpoint or midpoint, and I will place it on that endpoint. Next, I have to create a couple of more cylinders. If I switch back to shades of gray, you will see that that plate is indeed located where I want it. Let's create a cylinder. And I want you to touch this face, and then I want you to go to the edge near it. Once you get the center mark, I want you to click that center point. Choose on your command line the word diameter. 1. Then I'm just going to send this all the way through. Choose subtract. I'm going to select my C clamp because that's what I want to keep. And I'll select the cylinder that I just created because that's what I want to discard. Next, let's go ahead and create another cylinder located out here. So I'll create a cylinder that has a diameter of 1. And then the height of this one will be 1.125. Next, let's go back to the cylinder command. I'm going to highlight this face. Do not click on it. Come toward the edge until you get your center point to show up. Click on the center. Select the word diameter and type in 0.625. I'm going to send this diameter all the way through my part. Subtract. Select the outside cylinder. Then select the inside cylinder. I can erase these parts. Now what I need to do now is move this center to that center. Let's go to move. And once I find my center here at the bottom, click that one. And I'm going to place it at the center and make sure you're on the top center of this one. Let's go ahead and change our UCS back to the WCS. Take a look at this from the top view. Next, let's go ahead and move this shape. And I want to move it down. And it looks like that distance that I'm going to need to go is 5.875. So make sure you move it down 5.875 and place it. You can go ahead and union these together. Once again, when you select union, select these in any order you want. Now your shape is complete.